She's called the Saint of Calcutta, winner of the Nobel Peace Prize, and one of the most beloved figures in modern history. But what if everything you know about Mother Teresa is based on carefully crafted propaganda? What if the woman who claimed to help the poorest of the poor was actually exploiting their suffering for fame and fortune? Today we're examining the disturbing evidence that suggests Mother Teresa was far from the saint the world believes her to be. We're not talking about minor criticisms or theological disagreements here. We're examining documented evidence of medical negligence, financial misconduct, and systematic deception that spans decades. From withholding pain medication to hoarding millions while patients suffered, from questionable baptisms to suspicious connections with dictators, this is the Mother Teresa story the Catholic Church doesn't want you to investigate. Let's be clear about our sources. We're drawing from investigative journalism, medical professionals who worked in her facilities, financial audits, and testimonies from former volunteers. This isn't about attacking faith or charity work, but about examining whether the most famous humanitarian of the 20th century was actually causing more harm than good. Because when someone's reputation is built on helping the suffering, the truth about their methods matters. First, let's examine the medical conditions in Mother Teresa's facilities. The missionaries of charity operated hospices across India, supposedly providing care for the dying poor. But medical professionals who visited these facilities were horrified by what they found. Patients lying on bare mats, sharing needles, receiving no pain medication, and being denied basic medical treatment that could have saved their lives. Dr. Robin Fox, editor of the medical journal The Lancet, visited Mother Teresa's flagship facility in Calcutta and published a devastating report. He found patients with curable diseases being left to suffer unnecessarily. Tuberculosis patients weren't isolated, spreading infection to others. Pain medication was withheld because Mother Teresa believed suffering brought people closer to God. Fox concluded that such systematic approaches to basic care were not observed. This wasn't compassionate care, it was medical malpractice disguised as charity. But here's the twisted part. Mother Teresa herself received the best medical care money could buy. When she needed treatment, she flew to the finest hospitals in California and Rome, receiving cutting-edge medical procedures. She had access to pain medication, private rooms, and world-class physicians. Yet the people in her care were told that suffering was beautiful and that pain was God's gift. The hypocrisy is staggering. Luxury health care for the saint, medieval conditions for her patients. Now let's examine the financial irregularities. Mother Teresa's organization received hundreds of millions of dollars in donations from around the world. Where did this money go? Certainly not to improving conditions in her facilities. Investigative journalists found that much of the funding was transferred directly to the Vatican Bank. While her hospices continued operating with minimal resources, patients still lay on dirty mats while millions sat in Vatican accounts. The missionaries of charity received donations specifically for medical equipment, medicines, and facility improvements. Yet visitors consistently reported the same deplorable conditions year after year. German magazine Stern sent investigators who found that despite receiving massive funding, the organization provided no financial transparency. They operated hundreds of facilities worldwide but refused to publish detailed financial statements. For a charity claiming to serve the poorest, their accounting practices were suspiciously secretive. Mother Teresa also accepted money from highly questionable sources. She received over $1 million from Charles Keating, the American financier who defrauded thousands of investors in the savings and loan scandal. When prosecutors asked her to return the stolen money, she ignored their requests. She also accepted donations from Haiti's brutal dictator Jean-Claude Baby Doc Duvalier, praising his regime while Haitians suffered under his oppressive rule. Apparently, the source of money didn't matter as long as it enhanced her organization's wealth. Then there's the issue of forced conversions. Mother Teresa's facilities routinely performed baptisms on dying patients without their knowledge or consent. Former volunteers testified that unconscious Hindu and Muslim patients were secretly baptized as Christians before they passed away. When questioned about this practice, Mother Teresa justified it by claiming she was helping souls reach heaven. This wasn't medical care or even charity. It was religious manipulation of vulnerable people in their final moments. The baptism controversy reveals something deeper about Mother Teresa's motivations. She wasn't primarily interested in alleviating suffering. She was focused on collecting souls for Christianity. Her own writings reveal this priority. She spoke about the beautiful nature of suffering and actively discouraged medical interventions that might save lives. To Mother Teresa, a converted soul dying in agony was more valuable than a healthy person living their own faith. The patients weren't people to be healed. They were opportunities for spiritual conquest. But perhaps the most damning evidence comes from her own correspondence. Mother Teresa's private letters, released after her canonization, revealed decades of spiritual doubt and crisis of faith. She wrote about feeling terrible pain, spiritual darkness, and the absence of God in her life. Yet publicly, she maintained the image of unwavering faith, while privately admitting she felt nothing. For someone whose entire reputation was built on divine calling, this revelation is devastating. The letters span nearly 50 years and paint a picture of someone going through the motions of faith while experiencing complete spiritual emptiness. She wrote to her confessor, "I feel that God does not want me, that God is not God, and that He does not really exist." Yet she continued accepting accolades and donations based on her supposed divine mission. If she didn't believe in her own calling, what was really driving her work? Fame, power, control over vulnerable populations. The media's role in creating the Mother Teresa myth cannot be ignored. British journalist Malcolm Muggeridge produced the documentary Something Beautiful for God, which launched her international fame. But Muggeridge later admitted he had no evidence for many of his claims about her work. He simply wanted to promote what he saw as a good story. The documentary included staged scenes and exaggerated claims about miracles. Mother Teresa's global reputation was built on propaganda, not factual reporting about her actual impact. Christopher Hitchens, who extensively investigated Mother Teresa, called her a fanatic, a fundamentalist, and a fraud. His research revealed that she consistently opposed medical advances that could have helped her patients. She was against contraception, even in areas where population control could have reduced poverty. She opposed divorce even for women suffering domestic violence. Her positions often increased human suffering rather than alleviating it. This wasn't progressive humanitarian work. It was medieval ideology imposed on desperate people. The canonization process itself raises serious questions. The Catholic Church fast-tracked Mother Teresa's sainthood, waiving the usual waiting period and ignoring the substantial criticisms of her work. The miracles attributed to her were disputed by medical professionals, yet the Church proceeded anyway. Monica Besra, the woman whose healing was attributed to Mother Teresa's intervention, later stated that her recovery was due to medical treatment, not divine intervention. Even her supposed miracles were questionable. So what's the real Mother Teresa legacy? She built a global organization that collected hundreds of millions of dollars while providing substandard care to vulnerable populations. She created a cult of personality around suffering while denying patients basic medical treatment. She converted dying people without consent, while privately doubting her own faith. She accepted money from criminals and dictators while claiming moral authority. This isn't sainthood, it's systematic exploitation disguised as charity. The most troubling aspect is how her reputation continues to shield criticism of her methods. When medical professionals or journalists point out the problems with her facilities, they're accused of attacking charity itself. But real charity involves actually helping people, not using their suffering as a platform for religious conversion and personal fame. Effective humanitarian work focuses on reducing suffering, not celebrating it as spiritually beneficial. Mother Teresa failed by the very standards she claimed to represent. The broader lesson here is about the danger of uncritical hero worship. Mother Teresa became a global icon because her story fit what people wanted to believe about charity and sacrifice. But good intentions don't excuse harmful practices. The patients in her facilities deserved proper medical care, not religious manipulation. The donors who supported her work deserved financial transparency, not Vatican bank transfers. And the public deserved honest reporting about her methods, not propaganda disguised as journalism. The Mother Teresa case teaches us that reputation and reality can be completely different things. The woman who won the Nobel Peace Prize may have actually increased suffering rather than reducing it. The saint who claimed to serve the poorest may have exploited their desperation for personal and institutional gain. The global icon of charity may have been more interested in souls than in lives. Sometimes the most dangerous deception comes wrapped in the most beautiful packaging. What do you think about the Mother Teresa controversy? Should her sainthood be reconsidered given this evidence? How do we distinguish between genuine charity and religious exploitation? Let us know in the comments, and subscribe for more investigations into the complex realities behind our most revered figures.